Awesome. Great. Looks like everything's up. And hello. Okay. Make sure my audio looks good. That sounds about right. All right. How's everybody doing? So, uh, started a bit late and I was trying to fix something with the stream setup. I think I'm actually kind of getting the hang of this thing, knowing what you have to do for LinkedIn, what you have to do for YouTube. Really don't have the windows laid out. So if somebody chats, which I don't expect it, but chatting on LinkedIn, I might just say hi to myself. Hi. Uh, since I've never really did the LinkedIn side of it, I'll just say hi on YouTube as well. Hello. And does it pop up on the screen? I don't know if I've completely got that working or not, because I haven't really played around with it. Should work. Maybe not. Not a big deal. Anyways, we're going to get going pretty quick here. I have some things I just want to talk about in the cybersecurity world, but everything looks good. Let me put these windows off over here, bring up my notes, and let's change OBS. Cool. So, today, I got to start off with it. I'm not trying to pick on China or a specific government for that matter. It's more around, they just happen to be in the news a lot. And so I want to give some feedback, perspective, views on this, right? So obviously earlier this week, we had New Zealand accusing China of hacking Parliament following the US and UK. So this is 3 different countries claiming China's doing some stuff they shouldn't. Now, from China's perspective, what are you going to say? New Zealand's going to say this is unacceptable. Please stop. And what do you think China's going to say? Well, the reality of it is, it depends, right? Most would say we are not doing this, but sometimes maybe it's the tone or how it's translated can actually, come off wrong. Outright such groundless and irresponsible accusation, right? So it's like, look, I don't think one government's going to go after another government without having some facts or evidence. And so this type of response, I think, ultimately does say something's going on, right? My view would be more political, should be, look, we're investigating and trying to understand more and working with these other countries to ensure this isn't originating from our country or within our borders. And that's my point here, right? Right now, for those who don't know, hacking groups are given different names by different research companies, right? And so in this scenario, this research company said APT 40 is the name of the group. Now, different companies use different names. So even if you don't know who this is, your threat intelligence provider might use a different name for the same group. There's not like a standard that everybody has to use the same name. Okay, so don't let that confuse you for non-cybersecurity people. But I think what the takeaway from this is, and we'll go to the next article and I'll give my feedback. The UK also had an article where they were discussing the same thing, but they said APT 31, different group, but still coming from China. So now you have, different names, different groups, but they're both saying they're originating from within China's border. And I think that's the thing I want to talk about here. The UK is talking about using sanction, but look, I like Alan Woodward. His response is, it won't make a blind bit of difference. Now, that's obviously a UK way of saying something different than how an American would say it. So, but I think the other part is the equivalent of sending a stiffly worded letter saying, please stop, right? It's not going to work. The current approach of just saying, oh, we're going to do a little minor sanction is going to solve this. I don't think so. I think it's going to go like whatever, right? I mean, as a hacker, you'd be like, whatever, who cares, right? In order for this to work, it would require massive sanction that impacts all of the China's economy for them to actually want to look at a way to come to the table and discuss possible ways to reduce it. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate. I obviously don't live in China, even though I live in Asia. And I'd be curious what the China media outlets are saying. Now, obviously, they're going to have their own biased opinion, like saying China is being hacked by the Western country. So it might be a matter from their news and their perspective. It's he said, she said, they're doing it to us. They're saying we're doing it to them. And ultimately, in the background, citizens, normal people, businesses, and governments are still getting hacked. And so this is just wasting everybody's time, in my opinion, pointing fingers. What I would like to see is some type of, and I don't know how the UN would fit into this, but basically you would say any hacking that originates from our country as a government, we are responsible. And meaning we need to figure out how to stop them from hacking. And that goes for everybody. So China can't say, well, the government didn't hack you. Yeah, but we have evidence that it's originating from within your country's borders or boundaries, and thus you are accountable for it. Same with the UK, US, Australia, Iran, Iraq, Russia. Everybody needs to get their house in order. If a U.S. citizen wants to hack a U.S. company in their borders, then go ahead, because the punishment is swift and severe if caught. Whereas my view, and I would be more of, then this might be a way and a compromise where the Chinese can't keep saying, well, it's not our problem because it's not government. No, you actually have to take full responsibility, and every country needs to as well. So that's my long rant. But the point is, it's a way for something called accountability to start occurring, and a government has to be accountable for what their citizens or private companies are doing in the cybersecurity landscape to another country. I think that's where we need to start as a middle ground, right? Anyways, let's move on. Something more fun. Not real fun, but I thought this article was interesting. It says, and I'm going to turn off my audio monitoring. I don't really want to hear myself. Take my headset off too for a bit. Generative AI can help the cybersecurity resource gap. I found this interesting, but at the same time, I find it quite flawed, like half of the article, right? So the first thing I take note of is lowering the bar to entry. And the reason I don't like this is because you can't lower the bar. If you do, you're setting somebody up for failure. So let me give an example. If you are hired and the manager or the person that hires you and the company that hires you, day one says, your first IT job ever is a cybersecurity position. Well, that person sucks. They've set you up for failure. They've set the company up for failure. They've set your career up for failure, because you just can't start there. The cybersecurity is not the starting point, right? It's not a bouncer job at a bar where because you're big, you can automatically be a bouncer. No, it doesn't work like that. Cybersecurity comes after you've built an operational IT or development foundation and specialize in those areas. A development person is good at, would want to move into cybersecurity for a developer, where a network person wants to be a cybersecurity for networking, but you have to have a boundary of a place that you already specialize in to be eventually good at these things, right? Let me give an example. You get a driver's license. So anybody who's ever got a car has got a driver's license. And you're like, okay, cool. My first day of driving doesn't mean you're an expert in driving. It just means you've been trained enough to be able to drive a car. But I take that person and I say, come here. I want you to sit in this F1 car, and you're going to go race on that track with these other 35 people in the next 30 minutes. You won't be able to do it. You are either A, going to be too scared to do the job, ask too many questions, or B, you just will quit because it's too much and overwhelming, or you actually try to do it and you end up, in racing, people can die, kill themselves, kill somebody else in a car, make a mistake at those speeds. And so in the real life, you could see how taking somebody who hasn't been trained, lowering the bar to say, you got your ID, go ahead and just start racing cars is a horrible thing to do. That's why they have licensing and skills, and you build up and progress before you get to the top level. Same with IT. whether people like it or not, you need to have a base foundation. And lowering the bar, AI, I don't see how AI can just lower the bar to entry ultimately. Now, where it can help though, building that foundation, I think it is making more documentation available, making more resources available for people. I think there's a lot of value in that, and finding a way to maybe translate all these different documentations to multiple languages so more people can consume that and get better at IT operations in order to become better at IT security within their respected area that they are efficient in, such as me. You guys should know by now, I focus on identity, data, and I'm actually starting to brush up on AI. So anything dealing with identities, dealing with data, and well, dealing with recovery of incidents. I have kind of three main areas I specialize in, and soon to be adding AI to that. But we have to pick it. Don't ask me about networking. Don't care about networking. I know that's a broad thing to say. You're crazy, Joel. What would you say that? No, I don't care about networking because I know somebody else cares about networking, and I want their expertise to be there because that's what they like, right? So that's how we look at this, okay? Now, moving forward, what else? Risk of burnout. This is the most ridiculous crap I've ever heard. Let me be honest with you. Everybody can get behind this. Everybody will understand this. If a manager or a company says, hey, you work 8 hours a day, I'm going to give you this tool, and this tool means you should be able to get your job done in 6 hours. They're not going to say, by the way, thank you for completing that job in 6 hours. Why don't you just go home, take a nap, rest for those other 2 hours and get paid for it? No. I mean, I would love that. Hey, by the way, you're done. Go home, enjoy the rest of the day. Then next thing you know, people will be getting their work done in like 2 hours and pissing off. That's not going to happen. So the tool itself, being in this way, generative AI, isn't going to reduce burnout. I don't think it will, because the fact of the matter is the companies try to squeeze as much out of their employees, and most companies do, I feel, and that burnout is a combination of you have to work 8 hours. It doesn't matter what tools you give them to work in 8 hours. It just means they might be able to work a little bit more efficient. So now they're getting more work done in 8 hours. But it's not like you're saying, well, now that you've saved 8 hours, 6 hours, you can go home. So this isn't going to reduce burnout. Anybody who thinks that is a moron, I'm going to say it how I want to say it. Welcome to my stream chat channel. IT Candor, baby. You're a moron. It's not going to reduce burnout. Companies are not going to let you go home early. Let's be honest. Okay. This is a great one. Stay up to date with news as an example. Rather than watching an idiot like me tell you about news and cybersecurity stuff, you can go and research it. Now, I think it does miss the human element. Somebody like me who can give experience and ideas and kind of make it more fun at the end of the day, if you have the time, is worth kind of getting those different human perspectives, right? Today. Where I see the value in this is, I don't care about all cybersecurity. Most people don't, right? Because you can't look at everything. There's just too much going on. Most people care about cybersecurity within the industry that they work. So if you're in finance, you're going to say, hey, what type of APT, 31, they focused on governments. They don't focus so much on finance maybe. So what threat actors am I concerned about that are looking at my industry, meaning my other companies? If I work at JP Morgan, the hackers are going after JP Morgan, Barclays, many other banks. They're going to use the same tactics and techniques. And thus I want to know what I need to do. What type of approaches are they using to get to banks so I can protect myself? Maybe I don't care about how they're hacking governments because that's a different outcome, or maybe what they're doing to hack medical facilities or things like that. And so this can really help if you want to stay up to date for whatever company or research or industry you have, help put what together is going on so you can ensure that your defenses, capabilities, and your team members are kind of trained on what's going on that's most relevant to them at the end of the day, okay? Cross-team communication. Yeah, I can see some value here as well. What I mean by value is a lot of times IT people want to be the technical, and you want to sound really smart by using big, long technical words or tons and tons of acronyms, and nobody else can understand what the hell is going on. It's like me. Look, I play a lot of video games, okay, but there's games I've never played. And if I was to play that game, it's like learning a freaking new language. I've never played WoW in my life. Now, my brothers played WoW a little bit. I've never played at all. So it wasn't my style of game. But I've always kind of paid attention to what's going on in the industry. But when they talk about it, it's like speaking another goddamn language, because I have no clue what those things mean in WoW and the places and the names and all that crap. It's the same thing here. If you really think about it in IT, if I was to try to break down what is going on sometimes at a too technical level with a bunch of acronyms, that's going to impact people who are going and business people. leadership and decision makers. And so I think this can maybe really help where you say, hey, this is kind of technical. Can you rewrite it for an audience of a business perspective? Does that make sense? And so it kind of helps somebody who might be very good at writing technical stuff to maybe lighten it up a little bit and make it for the different type of audience without them having to try to think about rewriting it, and maybe get that email out or that information out to the business faster. And the person who can receives it can maybe have a better understanding and even ask less questions, but more focused questions to fill in the gaps. I think that's where these type of things, generative AI, can help. And even just in normal emails, my emails I've always been told my emails are very direct and military style. That's my training, background, and where I've worked most of my life. So I like bullet points, A, B, C, D. There's no gray. It's black and white. However, people want a nice, long, lengthy email saying, hey, thanks for telling me, have a good job, you're the greatest, oh, I love you. And people just want long, drawn out stuff. And so sometimes now I use the AI to review how I wrote it and then rewrite it to make the other person on the other end feel happy, even though I could frankly care less. But that's a way AI can help with communications. The other person feels like Joel spent time to talk their language, when in reality I didn't care, but I let the AI talk their language and everybody's happy. I get what I want, they get what they want. So I think this is a really good point, is it can really help security people, tech people have a better conversation with less tech people who ultimately might be involved in the situations that are going on and where the business has to change and leadership has to find more funding or change direction. Let's get this last couple ones here. Okay, where's this next one? This one's more focused on users. Once again, I'm back to China again. Oh my God, it's been a China day. That's why I put China in there. But my point with this one is, here's the real world. You're walking down the street. Somebody comes up to you and says, here's 50, whatever your currency is. Here's $50. Okay. You'd probably say, why? You'd ask a lot of questions like, the hell do you want? Why would you just give me $50? Who are you? What are you trying to do? There has to be a scam here. There has to be a reason. Nobody just gives you $50 free. Okay. Now, well, unless you're a streamer, people give you free money then. I'm just digging at stream, or you're OnlyFans or whatever the hell, you get free money. Anyways, different topic. My point is, most people in real life aren't going to come up and give you free money. Whenever you see something on the internet, I'm going to help everybody out. For non-IT people, non-security people, regular Joe, Jane people in the world, nobody on the internet is going to give you free money ever. So Elon Musk is not going to say, tweet me back 10 Bitcoin and I'll give you 50 back, like that big scam that went on. It's never going to happen ever. And so the same thing goes here. Websites or companies aren't just going to give you free money. That doesn't make sense. And so this company is a China-based product company, which anybody can build one of these apps and stores in minutes. They were offering people to sign up to give their personal information this money. Now, Jake Moore from ESET said, look, it's not free. And that's true, because you are giving them something for that money. They're giving them your personal data. Now, a lot of normal people say, oh, I don't understand what the problem is with this. And the reality of it is it can be used to exploit you. It could be using that data to, credit card fraud. I think everybody knows that. Identity theft, those common things. And you can always say, well, that hasn't happened to me, or it can't happen to me. Well, look, it can happen to everybody, right? Now, what I think the important part of this is what people need to understand is the companies and applications and websites and services that you use. It's maybe important to understand what that company government laws are. And the reason Jake Moore here was talking about this is the fact that this is a China-based company. And so in the U.S., if the U.S. government wanted to go into a private company and say, I want all this data, they have laws that exist to protect the business and laws that exist to protect the customers' data that exist at that business. UK has GDPR as an example. It's quite helpful in that you just, in those areas, it's at least it's something on the books. Well, a lot of people don't know is China doesn't have those laws. A company has to do what the China government says, and they can pretty much gag order them. This is known. This isn't like me making it up. So the problem with this is, as a citizen of another country, I give my data to this app. This app data sits in China, and the Chinese government can come in at any time and ask for that data, and that company can't do anything about it. They can't even tell their users, hey, the Chinese government wanted your data. They're not allowed to do that. That's the problem here. This is why some of those big arguments in the Senate, which a lot of people don't understand, why did U.S. want to require ByteDance, which is the China company, to sell TikTok to a U.S. company? Because then that data lives in the U.S., not another country. That data is bound by U.S. laws. And if let's just say for the hell of it, the FBI wanted to get the data from TikTok for whatever reason, that information has to follow laws, requires court orders, and all types of other things that has some level, not the best, but some level of accountability, as opposed a country that and a government that can just do whatever they want to whatever company, and the person's data themselves don't even know it's being accessed. So that's Jake Moore is being honest here in terms of why this is such a big risk. And I just want people to protect themselves. Understand what companies you're giving your data to. And if you don't have to know every country, but if the company isn't running in your country, then maybe you don't want to give the data. If it's not a local app or a business, for example, you can have Amazon.com, but there's Amazon.com.sg is the Singapore one. So when I'm interacting with that, I know the .sg one is following the laws of Singapore. There's .co.uk, there's .co.nz for New Zealand. So even if it's a global company, they typically make a website version for that country, and that way you know there is some laws hopefully protecting you so you can still interact with it, as opposed to where does the data live. So think about that when you start using these websites. The last one. Oh, what do I want to do in this last one? Okay, we're going to do this last one. I think this is more of a tech one. So if you're not into nerd stuff, we're going to nerd out for a minute. Okay. This tech one here is right now XZ Utilities is a big backdoor that is found in a lot of Linux distros. So this just kicked off maybe 2 or 3 days ago. Very interesting story how this was identified. I don't know how true it is. I need to review it. I don't like just taking one person's word on it, saying that it was somebody just discovered it because there were slow SSH logins and they figured it out. I do want to revisit the story at some time. I thought it was quite interesting if it's true. However, let's focus on the facts. So if you have Linux distros in your environment and you have the XZ Util library there, which is version 5.6 and 5.6.1, you need to uninstall it and roll back to a previous version that doesn't have the backdoor in it. Now, the backdoor impacts the SSH session itself to steal things. The versions that are available that have it are these ones that have been identified. So if you use these, especially the Kali Linux people, if you use these distros, you want to think about going in and looking at it. Now, obviously I work at Microsoft. We're going to do the Microsoft conversation, but replace this with what other vendor you have in your environment. This same exact things should be used whenever you're looking at the problem. Okay. So you want to roll back to 5.4.6. That's the stable version that doesn't have this. Has been certified that it exists and that it's safe. Okay. So that's the first thing. That's your rollback. That's the version you're gunning for. Now, if you use Microsoft, obviously Microsoft has a lot of different Defender products and ways of doing this. If you have vulnerability management, we've already collected all the data from any of your onboarded endpoints. So if a Linux server hasn't been onboarded, it might not be there. Okay. You got to remember this is about having some visibility into it. Okay. There are ways to get the data even if it's not onboarded, but my view is make sure you have your endpoints onboarded, and that guarantees what we're going to be able to collect and find. So as you can see, we already have the CVE there. Very, very quickly, you can go into the reports area, look at CVEs, and look for that one and see how many of your devices in your environment or endpoints are infected or impacted. I would use the word impacted with this, okay? The CVE is very well documented, talks about what's going on, where to find it, how old. It's only 4 days ago, but you need to go and look at this, okay? The nice thing about it is it gives all the devices in your environment. So you could say, I have this many Linux systems that are affected and this many versions of the software 5.6 and 5.6.1. So you could have multiple versions out there. And then we give the recommendations, which is to uninstall, roll back to a previous version of it. If you want looking for the KQL, for those who love KQL, it's in the TVM software inventory. It's the same exact place that these reports and details come from. This is the actual table. Did I go too far? The table where you can look for the different software, the different versions, and then find out where it is in your environment. If you don't use VM, threat and vulnerabilities management, and you use Defender for Cloud can also help on this. It also can look for the exposed SSH internet or external exposed SSH ports. That's the first thing, because that's really where the major problem comes in. So if you have any VM exposed directly to the internet that has SSH open, number one, that is freaking horrible, and just don't do that. Fix that. And number two, you definitely need, if it's open for whatever reason and you can't shut it down today, hopefully soon, fix the XZ Utils on that one, roll that back right away. So this gives you a really good breakdown of using either product to find the endpoints that are impacted in your environment for that. Now, from a pure recovery perspective, I'm going to give my view on it. If I was at a customer today for this, and I was brought in for this, the first thing I would do is, one, get the reports together as quickly as possible using whatever tools are there. Two, after I have those reports, the next thing I would do is look at what is the highest risk endpoints. Is there any endpoints that are exposed directly to the internet, SSH 22? Most likely I'd ask that company to turn that off for the time being, and then go ahead and clean up those endpoints first. Now, I would really have serious discussions on why you've exposed 22 directly to the internet. We'll hear every excuse under the sun, like, but another company needs to access it. And I'd be like, oh, hell no. But my point is, turn it off so you mitigate the risk until you've cleaned it up. Then you can re-expose it, but you need to have a long-term discussion about why 22 is exposed directly to the internet. Then whatever's left, the remaining endpoints, meaning they're internal endpoints, they're not on the internet, they still should be fixed. And I wouldn't say take my time, but you should be able to roll out and focus on cleaning up those endpoints that are inside the environment. So obviously I just gave you my game plan of how I would tackle this. One, reducing risk to the business as soon as possible on those external facing ones, cleaning up the highest risk ones, and then cleaning up the remaining ones. If you're lucky and it's Thursday, you can have this done by Friday evening, so you don't have hopefully your Saturday, Sunday doesn't suck. But my point is, go ahead and just use whatever vendors you have. Obviously, Microsoft, we put all this out there. Any other company has most likely put this stuff out there in their products. I just want to see everybody get this stuff cleaned up as fast as possible, and don't leave those 22s exposed to the internet. Cool. With that, I'm going to go back to the actual camera. I'm going to stretch here for a minute. Hey, it did show up on the thing here that I said hi to myself. Okay, great. Awesome. Look, this is... I'm going to keep doing this for a little while. I'm enjoying it. Obviously, it's a live stream. Look, if somebody ever wants to chime in here, it'd be awesome. I don't expect anybody to ever really come in. One, most of my colleagues and friends, are working at this time because I've chosen to do this around 11 to 12 on a Wednesday, most Wednesdays. So in my part of the world, APAC, people are, in Australia, New Zealand, all my friends in there are busy working, right? Even if I was chatting with a friend in Japan and I was like, hey, you going to stop in? He goes, busy. And I'm like, I understand it. So I don't expect a lot from here. In India, my friends in that part of the world are most likely still asleep or just waking up, and it's very early for them. So that's fine. If you ever want to stop in here and say hi, say hi. Awesome. Would like it. Then obviously this is saved, and anybody that is in the US or UK or in the Western side of the world, they will just watch this on demand if they even care. But once again, I'll update the description, break this video down to make it easier so you can find the different topics we talked about. If you have a comment or something, just throw it in there. If there's any cool articles or anything you think you'd like to say, hey, Joel, this type of attack, how would you tackle this problem? How would you look at it from a recovery specialist? So remember, everybody in cybersecurity can't just say, I'm in cybersecurity. I always ask the question, what is your specialty? What do you do? I'm in a very unique scenario. I fall under as a trained recovery specialist. Most people don't have that title. They're normally like SOC level people, right? And so if you want that unique perspective about that, let me know. I fall closer to a blue team than a red team because I'm more around operations and teaching those people to defend themselves and mitigating those risks and cleaning up those risks. So more blue team and that than a red team person. But ultimately, if you have questions around data security and things like that, just stop in here. I've got some stuff coming up for security for Copilot. I don't know if I don't want to say anything bad about the product, but there's some challenges with it that I haven't really got to, kind of twist it a little bit. I want to twist and put that product through some gears and stuff and get a better understanding of what it can do today and where I feel I would like to see it go personally. So there's some stuff there I'm working on. I got some AI stuff internally I'm working on. Other than that, cool. Awesome. Thanks everybody for checking in, stopping in. Got it under 30 minutes this time, I think. And I'll see you guys next Wednesday. And I just love the fact I don't have to edit. It's so great. And with that, take care, everybody. Have a good week. Clean up XZ utilities and try not to have a very long weekend. All right.